It's the greatest podcast in the history of the world.
Mira comes charging out! Oh! This is enormous from Dave!
And there you go. I'll give you the headset here, Sue, if you want to come up and join us.
All thanks to MECWACARE, a proud partner of the VAFA.
He runs around, he goes for goal! He does it!
What a goal from Tilly!
This is for the love of the game.
No, you keep at it, mate. Keep at it. There's a job for you somewhere.
The umpire's just given away a free kick, so hopefully this breaks up the game a bit.
Here's your host, Joey Pignataro.
Turn the mic on.
Hello everyone and welcome to For the Love of the Game, the official podcast of the Ammos. We are here all thanks to MECWACARE. We are celebrating the best time of the year, which is September, and I've got two of my great friends who have come on board in 2024 and shot the lights out just like old Brighton did on the weekend to come from the clouds and put themselves into the William Buck Premier Men's Grand Final this weekend, which we will be unpacking with you, Paddy Grindlay, as I say hello.
Hello, Joey. Good to see you. Up and at 'em Tuesday morning. Where would you rather be? What a weekend of footy we had across all levels. Do you want to start with the Brighton game? Just get straight into it?
We can, but I just want to say hello to Jason.
He can get stuffed. He's fine.
Don't worry about me.
He's hanging on the edge of his seat, Paddy, because, of course, Jace spent Saturday covering both of the VFL preliminary finals. So I reckon, Jace, you have one ear on old Brighton, one ear on Trevor Barker, and then tried to call the game.
I haven't heard what's going on, so I'm interested to find out who won.
Southport won.
Football.
Southport won.
Football won.
Football won.
Don Brew won.
Don Brew did win.
Let's start with the cutthroat one first.
Yes.
Let's start with Old Scotch and Collegians and determine who has dropped out. Collegians' premiership defence is over. Mm-hmm. Joseph, you handled that game for us down at Trevor Barker Beach Oval. What did you make of it?
What I will say from the outset with the final three teams is that I think we've got the best three teams left in the competition. I thought this probably about the halfway point of the game on Saturday. Collegians tried as best as they could given the amount of injuries they've had and experience throughout the year, but I saw the Scotch team that I thought we were going to see finish in the top two. Their defence was tight. They were sound around the footy. The way they moved the ball, given the conditions at Trevor Barker Oval, suggests to me exactly what I think I forecast with you, Paddy, a couple of weeks ago around when you're in the top two for points for and points against, you are in a premiership window, and that's what they most certainly are. Collegians did not give up the fight. Unfortunately, they were going against the breeze in the final term and ended up losing by 44 points. But I feel like we've got our best three teams left in the competition. What I'm most worried about and concerned about is Mackenzie Allen hyperextended his elbow in the second half of the game. He tried to play through it, but then in the end the pain got too much for him. I'll be disappointed if he can't get up for this weekend because it's a massive game against St Kevin's, the game that you're out at, Paddy.
Yeah, well, we'll start. I want to continue on with your injuries point just quickly because Max Benier was probably the narrative for the first three quarters. He's
been the narrative all year.
Yeah, but he copped a couple of knocks, just one on his hip that he couldn't quite get through that they tried to push him through. And then there's, of course, the stories around Will Lewis and Harry Hill who didn't play, but we're just keeping an eye on as we approach Grand Final
weekend.
I
saw Will Lewis. He was watching the reserves before he came out.
It's an ankle problem now.
So he was on crutches and a moon boot. I don't think we'll see Will.
Well, you would think that, but from what Marcel Bruin was saying, he was no chance if they were to lose to St Kevin's and go into the what would end up being the preliminary final. Grand Final weekend may be a different story. So we'll see how that evolves. Let's just talk about this game of footy. It was a bit of a dogfight. There's probably some words that I could use, but I won't, just about how just brutal it was at the coalface. It was two real strong defensive systems, two real strong inside systems going at each other. Windy conditions at Elsternwick Park as it was at Trevor Barker Beach Oval. It felt initially that the Tunners had the jumps and Kevin's worked their way back into the contest. We were reading out the extra time rules well into the fourth quarter because we felt that's where it was going. It was as even as a contest as you could hope for. And I think this point was made by Richard Bowen on Twitter that both squads had been so well organised defensively. And then at the 33-minute mark of the fourth quarter, it was about the third moment where it broke open all day. It was Sam Flockhart wandering through a stoppage. He got goal side, managed to get the ball with a few moments to spare, settle, and he kicked the goal that put the Tunners into the grand final with about 30 seconds remaining in the game. It was a brutish game of footy. Both these squads will be so sore, and I think Old Scotch now sit almost in a really good position because they know they're going to get a St Kevin's team that's going to be a little bit beat up after a brutal game of football.
The one thing I'll counter your Old Scotch suggestion with is the team that they're going to play against know what it takes to get to the last day. They've done it 5 years in a row. They have, I think, once prior to this year, had to go the long way around when it comes to losing the double chance and then playing in a preliminary final. Last year, they had to do it from third. They beat the Old Scotch in the first final and then the University Blues, who had the close game this time last year and fell short to Collegian. So it is going to be interesting how Plugger Lynch gets his boys out of the disappointment, because Jace and Paddy can talk to this because obviously there. Brighton kicked the first 2 goals and St Kevin's kicked the next 5, and it looked like, from just keeping an eye on it around the grounds, they were in control of the game until the back part of probably the third quarter, and then obviously the last term started to move the way of the Tunners, and then obviously the magical moments with Ben Pryor's terrific goal from where the 50 meets the boundary on the outer side of Elstonwick Park away from the grandstand. He struck it so well. Last year that was Ben Woodfull, and then of course the Sam Flockhart moment, which I encourage anyone to go and find on social media if you haven't seen it already.
Well, the game was lost for St Kevin's in that 7 minutes in time on in the third quarter, wasn't it? They were sitting on a 23-point lead.
And in control.
Knowing that Brighton had the breeze in the last term. But you'd think 23 points, we're a great defence. We'll find a way to shut that down. 23 points we can defend. They gave up 3 goals in 7 minutes in time on in the third term. Suddenly, it's a goal of difference at the final change with the Tunners, with their tails up and the breeze at their back. And St Kevin's did a mighty job into that win to defend for as long as they did. Like, no one could score for quite a while. And St Kevin's actually kicked the first goal last quarter, didn't they? They got out to 11 points in front, and then Nick Pavlou stepped up at the 18-minute mark, got them back within a kick entering time on. So St Kevin's actually did a superb job, and you think if they had been able to defend like that with a 23-point lead, they win the game and they're in the grand final. It was just that lapse, as they had when they played previously, where they kicked 6 in 11 minutes on them, did Brighton. Those little lapses in the game at the moment are what's costing St Kevin's, and Old Brighton are a good enough team, Paddy, to make you pay when you just switch off.
And I think that's been the story all year in William Buck Premier, hasn't it? It's just been lapses that have cost teams at either ends of the ladder. St Kevin's, as you mentioned, 2 in 2 weeks, which arguably cost them this game. You say that the St Kevin's felt on top. It didn't really feel that it was a clear advantage that they had. It was probably just more a story of taking chances in this game because there was really no space in which to operate. I don't think either coach would feel that they had the game on their terms. It just became a game which was really congested, really tight. Both squads probably felt more comfortable playing the defensive part of the game to not allow their opponents to get the space. We have seen on so many occasions what happens when you give the Old Brighton runners and the Old Brighton forward space in which to operate. St Kevin's denied them that. We've seen what happens when St Kevin's get handball receives and sweeping numbers through the middle. Old Brighton denied that. So it was a really, really brutal game of football. I think you go through that final stoppage, though, it's a remarkable little piece of play because the numbers around that footy were so stacked in. They were flooded on top. We went through Billy Coates' stat line over our text chat of something like 30 disposals. Was it 90-odd hit-outs?
Yeah, 97 hit-outs.
And you would say...
98 was the magic number for Billy. Just missed.
Unbelievable.
You would say that that's a smashing in the ruck. It really didn't feel that way because both Billy and Sam are around the ground workhorses.
They had 55 touches between the two of them, 31 for Billy and 24 for Sam. That's just an unbelievable performance from 2 rucks in a final.
Exactly right. And they found so much of the footy. I thought it was fitting of the contest that it was one of the rucks who did kick the winning goal. Unfortunately for Billy and the Scobbers, it wasn't him. But yeah, I would be thrilled to see this contest again Friday week, quite frankly, because these two feel like they are the front runners. If you look through their last 5 games, I think the biggest margin deciding them is 7 points or something ridiculous. They're great footy clubs. They're great units and great people as well. So thrilled to be a small part of that game, and there'll be some sore boys, I think, for the start of this week.
Anthony Lynch said, I thought the third quarter clearly cost us the game. Giving up that many goals with the advantage of the win was going to make the final quarter against it a real challenge. All credit to Marcel and Brighton. They executed in more big moments and showed why they've been the number 1 team all year. Our guys never gave up, and I'm proud of them for that, but we must play 120 minutes of footy in the biggest games of the year if you want to be successful. I think that pretty much sums it up.
It most certainly does. And listening to Mark Nat throughout the afternoon over at Trevor Barker Oval, he was so big on the defensive aspects of the way Scotch started the game. He was so strong, and Brent Sternberg caught up with him at quarter time, and he said we had 51 sacrificial acts, 24 tackles. Joey, that means 27 sacrificial acts, if you can work out what that was from the very first time he did say it. But he was so impressed because they were going against the breeze in the first quarter. Mackenzie Allen kicked the first goal of the game. You hold Collegians to no score from a goaling perspective in the opening term when they have the breeze. And when Collegians did have the chance to kick goals early on in the game, Jace, they just didn't take their opportunities, and that left the door open for the Cardinals to pull away from them. I think the damage was done in the second term when they did have the aid of the breeze. They pushed it out to a 3-goal lead, and then in the third term, Collegians again tried as best they could to fight back, but this Scotch lineup is looking pretty damn good.
Yeah, that first quarter into the breeze was a fantastic performance from Old Scotch, and they just turned it into a defensive struggle, didn't they? Collegians just couldn't wriggle free and take advantage of the breeze. And then Scotch did a great job in the second term. I think it was 18 inside 50s to 6 in the second term. And as you mentioned, they kicked 3 goals to 1, got it out to a 3-goal lead. But then the game sort of sparked to life, didn't it, after half-time? They'd only had 7 goals in just over a half of footy, and suddenly there were 5 goals in 14 minutes. It did open up in the third term. But unfortunately for Collegians, it was also, Scotch got their share as well. Collegians kicked 4, but Scotch kicked 3 into the breeze again. So that sort of cancelled out Collegians, time with the wind. And then obviously in the last quarter, they kicked 5 goals to 1, Scotch, when they had the breeze. So they did a super job at opening the game up when it suited them, and did a really good job at shutting it down when they needed to.
On the back of what you just said, Jace, Collegians were only able to get goals from Eddie Green and Alex Lukic. Their smalls didn't come into the game, and it was windy. It was a little bit of rain around, not a hell of a lot at Trevor Barker Oval, but on the flip side, Mackenzie Allen kicks a goal early on in the game. Angus Simons became the Skins player of the day, finished with 3, and he was terrific for them. It wasn't quite the day we were expecting from Ollie Barter, but when he was around the ball, he had an influence. You go to the other side, and I don't quite think the Collegian smalls had the same level of impact. In the middle of the ground, I thought Jim Bazzani and Kenny Ong, now we hold those two to significantly higher standards than maybe some of the other midfielders in the competition, because they're absolute stars and obviously both premiership players last year. But I felt like it was the Scotch's grunt work with Aidan Frenetic, with Andy Gelbart, just wanted it a little bit more. Maybe it's the burning desire of losing last year and feeling like we blew an opportunity for a double chance, that they were out for a little bit of redemption on the weekend. And it's going to be fascinating, Paddy. A quick look at next week with Scotch having their season ended at the hands of St Kevin's last year. Quickly, do you think that having what you've seen from Scotch this year, they can turn it around in a few days' time?
I think St Kevin's will feel as if they were pretty unlucky. I think they'll be able to get back up. We saw a game of footy where they were still able to get 3 goals from Paddy Kerr, despite Paddy only taking the 2 marks.
Paddy.
He was super. His work was more in the ruck and around ground level. They did so well, Brighton, at denying St Kevin's the marks inside 50, which they love. It was more their midfielders that they had to rely on. Cam Hodges and Sam Tucker, 2 goals apiece for the Scobbers. I think that they'll bounce back. I was much more impressed with their ability to run out the game and play stronger, albeit with that little lapse at the end of the third quarter and again in the last sort of 2 minutes of the game. I think that they'll bounce back. I reckon this is another flip of the coin as far as contests go. But I just feel that little bit more confident about St Kevin's. But of course, we'll get into our tips a bit later on.
Yeah, I'll give you my thoughts a little bit later on. And we know Jace will say football is the winner. So what we'll do is take a break. And when we come back, I'm very excited to go over to Premier B. We already knew Old Haileybury were in the grand final. They were waiting to find out who they were going to be playing. And it was a dour but close affair at Trevor Barker Oval on the weekend. And the De La Salle Footy Club are coming back to William Buck Premier in 2025. We'll take a break and we'll have a chat with both of the coaches. And Paddy, you can give us your wrap of the weekend.
The 2024 VAFA William Buck Premier Men's Grand Final, Friday, September 27th at Elstonwick Park. A huge public holiday crowd will pack VAFA HQ and watch the top 2 teams fight for their slice of football history, and you can enjoy the day in style. Tickets are available for our match day function and include a delicious carvery, a 2-hour drinks package, and entry to the big game. It's the VAFA William Buck Premier Men's Grand Final. Head to the VAFA website to grab your tickets now.
This is For the Love of the Game, the official podcast of the Ammos. We're here all thanks to MECWACARE. VAFA.com.au, Jace, a terrific website, brilliant articles. Williams Heroics, Hand of God, put D-La into the grand final. The byline, Paddy Grindlay.
Dramatic.
He's used a soccer reference, Hand of God.
No, it's a wonderful match report. If you get the chance, sit down and have a read. It's great, and we've actually got the great man here live, so we may as well just get him to just give us your match report. Premier B.
Don't read it word for word because there's a lot of words in it, Paddy.
Settle in, folks. Book signings out the front of Elstonwick Park.
Phenomenal game of footy. Talk us through it.
Yeah, quite insane. Like, this is to for the old footy almanac days with this piece that I've written, so apologies for those reading a very indulgent piece of writing.
It's wonderful.
This is, I think this might be the best game of footy I've watched all year as far as contest goes. It was a really brutal game of footy at Trevor Barker Beach Oval, quite windy. Both squads doing a pretty decent job defending into the wind as well as scoring into it. You had storylines going everywhere, but we'll pick it up really fourth quarter because it did feel that the Tees had it won. They kicked 2 goals to start the fourth term.
So this is D-La Old Trinity preliminary final.
Yep, thank you for front-loading the apologies that got too excited to talk about the footy and actually saying what it was. So Trinity have got the wind in the last quarter, right? They kicked the first 2 goals in the first 4 minutes to take a 10-point lead. You feel like the game is going their way. D-La just start to win the territory battle back. Trinity are well set up behind the footy. They've got spare numbers. It feels that this game is going to be played between the arcs and the Tees are going to grind it out. There's about 7 minutes to go when the ball finds its way length of the ground after the D-La coach Nick Hyland equalised the defensive numbers. So there's one-on-ones all over the ground and the ball finds its way to Jacob Williams. I think it was his 146th senior game for D-La. Counted back through Play HQ. Apologies if I've got that wrong, but he's a veteran of the club. Goes back, kicks the goal. He's having a great final quarter. 1 kick in it. Next few moments play out. Real tight, real congested. D-La once again, they go the length of the ground from centre half back. A few huge contest wins. It ends up in the hands of Jacob Williams again from 50 metres out, who kicks into the teeth of the wind, which holds his kick up just that little bit, and it just gets across the line, puts them in front with about 2 minutes to go. They're leading by 2 points, I think, at this stage. From the next centre stoppage, D-La win the footy initially, but Harry Thompson, the big teaser ruckman, takes a mark at back line, sends it back the other way, and it was almost exactly how it worked for Williams. It ended up with Sam Phillips of the Tees running through the middle of the ground, getting a handball receive and kicking it from 55 metres, 50 metres. And it looks like it's going through. The roar goes up from the Tees crowd behind the goals. You're thinking this is going to be decided by this kick. There's 20 seconds left in the game. And then on the last line, Luke Healy, outstretched arm, the hand of God, on the line. The goal umpire is right on the spot, gets a despairing fist to it. Touch behind, 1 point game. And then with 20 seconds remaining, all the Tees numbers flow to the next contest. The ball gets out the back. Adrian Indovino is waiting for it 70 metres from home, sprints the ball into the goal. At some point, the siren has sounded either as he's kicked it or slightly before he's kicked it or slightly after. No one at the ground could tell you such was the noise. And he's running along the boundary line, arms splayed wide. It's full Christ the Redeemer stuff at Trevor Barker Beach Oval. They are going absolutely nuts. The place has blown its lid. It's one of the most incredible local footy scenes I have ever clapped my eyes upon. You've got Nick Hyland in the middle of this broiling pack of supporters and players. He can barely believe it. He's got his hat off. He's mopping his brow. It's the first time we've ever met in person. I walk up to him and say, Paddy Grindlay, mate, congratulations on the year. And he's like, oh, that's you. Geez, you've got a stupid haircut. He didn't say that. I won't put words in Nick's mouth.
Nice to know Nick was that composed.
Oh, it was just a remarkable game of footy and probably exactly the game of footy that you want with William Buck Premier and a grand final position on the line, because you got 2 teams that were equally as deserving. My heart goes out to Donald McDonald and the entire old Trinity family. He was pretty devastated after the fact, but unfortunately that is footy. Sometimes you play a fantastic game and you just end up on the wrong side of the result by the hand of God on the line. And then obviously the Jacob Williams double. He'd kicked 1 goal for the entire season up to that point, to the 23-minute mark of the final quarter of the preliminary final. Remarkable stuff.
Extraordinary. And you can watch the whole game on VAFA TV. I won't be, because D-La Salle successful. I'm not so sure I can put myself through that. I did hear from Brian Waldron almost immediately as the siren went. Now, before we actually go on, I want to ask you a couple of things about this game. We should reference the reserves. There was a horrific injury to one of the young D-La Salle players, I think a broken leg, and meant that there was a delay to the start of the senior game. So as much as I do like to poke fun at D-La Salle, our thoughts are with the whole D-La Salle Footy Club, because that was really ugly.
Yeah, so Hamish Curtis unfortunately broke his leg. The ambulance came up to pick him up. The game started late. I think he might have been on the ground for upwards of an hour. It was really awful. So our thoughts are with him. You just hate to see this element. It is unfortunately a reality of football. But
it was a kick to the shin, wasn't it? So he went to kick, and it was shin on shin,
it
just one of those football incidents.
So their reserves are in the grand final.
Yeah, so that game at that point, I think D-La were up by 58 points over Old Ivanhoe, and I think both teams and the umpires decided let's just shake hands, because no one loves to see it. Of course, our thoughts with Hamish and his family and everyone down there at D-La who is associated with that reserves team, and best of luck in their grand final.
Yeah, they'll take on Old Trinity at 11:30 Beach Oval on Sunday, leading into the Premier Men's Premier B Men's Grand Final, Old Haileybury versus D La Salle, Sunday 2:30, Beach Oval, SEN and VAFA.com.au.
I'm a little bit nervous about the next chat that we've got coming up, Joey.
Well, in a moment, we're going to chat to Nick Hyland. He's hanging on the line. I just want to briefly mention this, and I'll bring this up with Nick. In 2019, De La Salle were relegated from William Buck Premier. I was there. It was the last game of the year. We broadcast that game. They lost to Old Trinity. So it's a full circle moment, Paddy, that they're coming back up. It's taken 6 years, but against Old Trinity in incredible circumstances. Give me just briefly a name on Saturday for me to watch when it comes to De La Salle. Give it to me now, and then I'll decide whether that name's enough for me to tip them later on.
Or Sunday when the game is.
Or possibly Sunday.
Well, you can do Saturday
I
as
can
well.
look at them on Saturday.
Well, you're more than welcome to follow Christian
Captain's
Algieri.
run.
Yeah. You can head out to Christian Algieri's place and watch him do his preparation. He is a superstar. He played the one game for Collingwood VFL. I don't think he was.
Oh well, hang on. Why didn't you lead with that?
Well, this is called setting up and knowing your audience, Joey. But I don't believe that he was initially listed by Collingwood VFL. But such has been his season at D-La. He was super. He hit the first goal of the game, a running torpedo punt from about halfway. And at that point, we thought it was advantage by the wind. At that point, I thought this could be a 6-0 to 0, goal to 6 kind of opening half. But it's a credit to both clubs' defensive systems that they were able to compete into and with the wind.
You can read more of Paddy's rap from the weekend on vafa.com.au. But we have been lucky enough to be joined by the coach of De La Salle. They held on, as Paddy said, by 7 points over Old Trinity. His name is Nick Hyland. Hello, Nick.
Hey, Joey. How are you?
Going very well. Congratulations, first of all, on getting not only through to the grand final, but you're now back where you belong in William Buck Premier. It's great to see for 2025 that the Dairy Bell will be in the top flight. How's that making you feel?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's Sunday was a great day for our club. Obviously, very exciting finish and highly emotional for many that put in a lot of hard work for a number of years. So, yeah, pleasing to get reward and find ourselves back in Premier A in 2025. But, it was a really exciting day for our club and one that everyone enjoyed.
Before we look at the game on the weekend and look ahead to this week, the emotion that you talk about, I was there in 2019, the day that you lost to Old Trinity and the club went down to Premier B. I think a lot of people expected it to be a straight bounce. It's taken the best part of 5 or 6 years. Talk us through the emotion that you guys felt on the weekend when it was confirmed you're coming back up.
Yeah, like you, I was there. I was our reserves coach in 2019 when it all went down, and it happened. Look, you say the bounce back. We understand, and you've got to respect the competition. That it's not as easy that you bounce, and because you come down from a division that you'll just bounce back up. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and this has been building since 2019. Obviously, we had the COVID years, which had their challenges there, and but it was just so pleasing to see. I think that's what. One of the best things was after the game on the weekend was seeing those people that have put the effort into the club for a number of years and seeing the joy that the result gave them and the happiness and the emotion that came with that. I think that was one of the most pleasing things was to give those people the reward. At the end of the day, we're still focused on this weekend though. As a playing group, particularly, we want the ultimate prize of a premiership. So I said after the game that the win and to get the club into A grade was for the club and the wider D-La community. And now we need to be a little bit selfish from a playing and a coaching point of view and make sure we're solely focused on Haileybury this weekend.
I was lucky enough to be in those rooms, Nick, and you said something that I really liked about legacy, about what legacy you want the playing group to leave. How do you build into this grand final across the week? How do you sort of emphasise, I suppose, that element which you just spoke about, the selfishness, if you can call it that, of wanting to win the grand final, having already achieved the top flight? What does the messaging look like for the next 3 or 4 days?
Yeah, well, the messaging post-game was let's enjoy this win. Like it's not every day that you have a win like that, let alone in a prelim final and then the result of obviously getting into A grade. So I encourage the playing group to enjoy it and soak it all in and enjoy it with their family and friends and all of the supporters. And look, that'll probably take what's the right timeline in terms of enjoying a win? Is it 24 hours? Is it 48 hours? I dare say post-review at training tonight, we'll reset and refocus and harness all our energy into preparing as well as we can for the grand final on Sunday.
Nick, you've met 3 times this year against Old Haileybury. They got you by 7 points in round 5. You then beat them by 26 in round 14, and they got you by 41 in the second semi-final. What did you learn from that meeting a couple of weeks ago, and what are the keys to success for you in this game?
Yeah, they beat us convincingly in the semi-final, and credit to them, they were by far the better team on the day. They took control around stoppage and were able to play their game in their front half. We know they're stacked of talent in the middle of the ground and in that front half as well. What did we learn? We learned how good they can be on their day, and they applied some fantastic pressure across 4 quarters, and then they were able to find space and allow their talented front half a lot of space in their forward 50. And on the flip side, we probably overused the ball at touch. I don't think we handled the windy conditions of Box Hill City Oval very well. We didn't really make the most of the wind advantage in the first quarter, and then we felt like we were chasing the game. We couldn't really get the game on our terms for long enough, but that's a credit to Haileybury. They didn't really allow us to get the game on our terms. But with 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, look, we kicked the goal and we were 15 points behind, so we were within striking distance. So we've certainly taken some positives from that game, that although we didn't play the way we wanted to, we were still within striking distance at 3-quarter time. So look, we're ready for it. As you've mentioned, we've beaten them in the past, so we know a formula that works. They've got us a couple of times, so we're anticipating their best, and we're very much looking forward to the weekend. It's a really exciting opportunity for our club. I think it's the first senior grand final the club's had since 2009. And on top of that, our reserves are in the grand final as well. So having the double on a Sunday is going to be an exciting time at Trevor Barker Oval, and we encourage the entire D-Lar community to get down and support both teams.
And just before we do totally look forward, can I just get a quick little insight into your emotions during Luke Healy's hand of God moment in the last 30 seconds of the game, where he got a fist to that flying shot on goal?
Yeah, it was... Well, I thought it was going through from the sideline. From our angle, it looked as, with the wind picking up, and it looked like that ball had just gained legs and was sailing through. But to Heels' credit, and it probably sums up his entire season. He's a 19-year-old young man who's playing full-back against the opposition's best forwards every week, and he's often undersized. He's inexperienced in comparison to his opposition, but he doesn't let any of that overraw him. He's a really disciplined player. He's ultra competitive, and he never gives up. He's one of the best fighters we've got at the club, and I thought it just typified the way he goes about it. That yes, that to all money, that ball looked like it was sailing through, but just to never give up on it, and then that last grasp, reach and fingertip on it, that certainly settled the heart a bit after that one.
Yeah, I'd certainly encourage you, Joey, if you've got a spare 20 minutes today, to go watch that last quarter down at Trevor Barker Beach Oval. Some of the best local footy you will ever see.
You're asking me to go watch D-Lar in a close final win. You're asking me to go watch.
It's going to hurt, but you're going to have to do it.
Joey's been unbelievably diplomatic, Nick. He's savage on D-Lar Salle. We always fly the flag and stand up for you. He hammers you on this podcast.
Nick is under the most pressure in the whole competition as the head coach of D-Lar Salle. You're under the most pressure, Nick. You know that because there's a bloke at your football club who used to sit in your chair.
I know where this is going.
Oh, Grumpy Brian, mate. It might be the first time he smiled in the best part of 15 years on Saturday, Nick, when you finally saluted.
He was one in the rooms after the game.
Of course he was.
It was fairly
He was holding up the speaker above his head.
I have heard, Joey, you and Brian going at it over the years, so that's given everyone a good amount of joy. But yes, he was one of the many older D-Lar men and women who have put in so many hours of work, and they're so passionate about the club, and they want the club to succeed, and they'll do anything for the club. So, as I said earlier, that was one of the main reasons why I took so much, gratification. Not sure if that's the right word. Why it was so pleasing to see those people so happy post a win. I think that was a pretty special moment for our club.
Nick, they call me Splinters here because I sit on the fence all the time. And look, may the best team win on Sunday. On Sunday, but
pick a team.
If it so happens that it is De La Salle, Paddy and I are going to come skipping in on Tuesday morning and just yes,
that's fine. They can win the Premiership Premier B, Jay. So come up as the 10th team in William Buck Premier next year. That's all. They're behind St Bernard's already. They've got to chase next year.
How have you fit St Bernard's into a discussion about D-Lar?
Best of luck, Nick. You've got to play old Haileybury and this one small, petty little man that sits across us on the desk here. Best of luck, mate. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
No, good on you guys. Have a good day. Thank you very much.
Let's move over from De La Salle. That's enough, De La Salle. We can't have any more. That's 7 minutes with Nick Hyland. More than enough. Let's go over to the old Haileybury side of things. The Bloods, who were stiff 12 months ago to go down to Premier B. They're coming back up to William Buck Premier. And one man I got to know last year, haven't spoken to him much.
Yeah, he's taking his number off me, Tom.
Daniel Ward from old Haileybury.
Yeah.
Hello, Wardy.
Yeah, great to hear from you, Joey. G'day, boys.
I had to give him your number. Wardy, he's wiped it off his phone.
No, that happens out of sight, out of mind. I get it, but yeah, glad to be relevant again.
Wardy, it must be said in all seriousness, you're not that far out of sight because every time we do For the Love of the Game, old Haileybury wins another game, and you've had a terrific home and away season. You had a brilliant win a couple of weeks ago against De La Salle, and you're back to a place you were 2 years ago. Let's hope, Wardy, that's not as wet as it was on that Saturday a couple of years ago, a grand final day.
Yeah, that was, excuse me, obviously a rough day, weather-wise and ground condition-wise. So, yeah, haven't looked too far ahead of the weather prediction for the weekend, but hopefully, yeah, it's decent. Always gets pretty windy out at Sandy, but I think conditions won't be too bad, hopefully.
I'm not sure if you've had a chance to watch the tape back from the game on Sunday, Wardy, but did you see anything that you sort of took notice of with how D-Lar won that game, or any sort of style? I suppose you've had a look at them 3 times already this year, so wouldn't have taught you much that you didn't already know.
No, there wasn't a lot other than really brave to obviously staring down the barrel, going into the win with 2 goals behind. So other than the fact that they were really brave and deserve to win in the end, and they'll obviously carry that momentum into Sunday. But yeah, I think they know a fair bit about us by now, and we won't be changing too many things up. So same with them, I believe. So yeah, it's 2 sides to the well drilled. Nick does a great job with his group. So yeah, I think we know what we're going to get on Sunday.
What goes onto the whiteboard for you, Wardy? What are the 2 or 3 key points that you want your team to take out with them to the first bounce?
Yeah, I think for us it's just an even contribution. It's a bit of a juggling act sometimes. We've qualified some VFL boys that haven't been there all year, and so we're not, although some of those boys, Charlie Harrop's kicked 9 in a game and Dre's won a few games off his own boot, but we're not relying upon those boys necessarily to do that. We need an even spread from our group, and and put enough pressure on De La Salle and their game plan, because when they're allowed time and space, whether it was the end of the game last week or they banged 8 goals on us in a quarter early in the year when they beat us, so we know how dangerous they can be. So we sort of curtailed that 2 weeks ago, but that's something that we need to bring again.
Wardy, you've had this incredible VFL group that you mentioned. Your mids have also been top-notch pretty much from the start of the year. We were saying probably from about that old Geelong game that you felt like you were playing your best footy and you'd claimed your best form. Do you feel that your group is in as good of nick as it has been all season?
Yeah, absolutely. We, I think I mentioned to you, Paddy, a couple of times just about when we were looking to peak, and we were slow starters mainly because of our pre-season program. We didn't really, they had their own programs, before Christmas, and there's a lot of trust that goes into your leaders and your playing group to do that. But the aim of that was to be peaking at this time of the year. And yeah, you're right. From that old Geelong game onwards, we've sort of been, we've played our best footy. We played really well. Obviously, slow start, played well after that. I think we won 8 or 9 in a row, and then had a bit of a dip. And then from that old Geelong game over the last probably 4 or 5 weeks, we've played the type of footy that we wanted to play. And yeah, I was talking to someone earlier. We couldn't have prepared any better. We've probably got one sort of long-term injury. Jimmy Paul, who played his 200th early in the year, has got a sort of long-term concussion, and he was my captain last year and 2 years ago when we won it. So he's probably the only one that's going to miss out, but everyone else is, fit and firing to the point where, I've had some pretty tough decisions over the last couple of weeks, and 3 guys missed out that played in round 18 that missed out for that first final. So, yeah, we're fit, we're healthy, we're well prepared and looking forward to it.
And I was looking at your squad from a couple of weeks ago, Wardy, the names, Jack Munro, the Seckle brothers all jump off the page, as does Gasparini, Brodie Steele, and you go down to a couple of those other ones, Hugo Nociara and Andreas Stefanakis, who, is one of my absolute favourites. And then you got the big tall tree in the middle, Lockie Treverton, he's huge, enormous. I'm just interested to know, Wardy, what has been your motivating factor this year? Was it the disappointment of being bumped out of William Buck Premier by 1% last year that has driven you to the success and the standards you've set on the footy club this year?
Yeah, good question. We're an aspirational group. Like being in those rooms after we, got beat by St. Kevin's and then found out the other result that we were going down, there was a lot of, the boys had worked their backsides off to get to that stage, and to win 6 games and probably be 3 games out of playing finals and then be relegated was a tough pill to swallow. But it's full credit to our group that, there's plenty in VAFA footy. There's, whether it's A to B or B to C, or there's plenty of football clubs that are just happy being with their lot and where they want to be. And the good thing from our footy club, from our president, Matty Armstrong down, is that we want to achieve and we want to be up with those big clubs in A grade. And so we just had to get to work again, and we lost a few, we picked up a few, but I'm really proud of the group. I'm really proud of my leaders. I'm really lucky in the fact that, Brady Sackle's my captain. I'm biased in the fact that I think he's one of the better captains in any comp, and runs things throughout the week. And, I've got great leaders right throughout the footy club that, a coach can get up there and say that we want to achieve A, B and C, but it gets driven by your leaders. And, I'm really proud of that group. And we've had some young talent come into the side that have really stepped up this year and will be, set for a great year in A grade next year.
It's going to be a fantastic game. Sunday, 2:30, Trevor Barker Beach Oval. If you can't make it to the game, you can listen to it live on SEN, on the SEN app and sen.com.au, and you can watch the game live on vafa.com.au. It's going to be a ripper. Old Haileybury versus D-La for the Premier B Premiership. Daniel Ward, thanks for your time. Best of luck.
Thanks for your time, boys.
Are you looking to grow your business? William Buck are more than just accountants and advisors who can develop strategic growth plans for your business. With over 125 years' experience, William Buck has expertise in navigating through challenging times and has been working closely with the VAFA community, creating positive change for individuals, businesses and community organisations. William Buck's team of specialist advisors work collaboratively, providing you with 360 support. Schedule a complimentary consultation today by visiting williambuck.com. This is For the Love of the Game, the official podcast of the Amos. We're here all thanks to MECWACARE. We've done Premier, we've done Premier B. Let's head over to Premier C. Jason, I've been strong on the Hampton Rovers over the last few weeks, and the Peacocks let me know all about it.
Well, old Carey and Hampton Rovers finished locked together at 16-2. We followed this race all year. It was fantastic. Carey won the tight second semi-final by 19 points. It was only 1 point entering time on in the last quarter, though, so it was a lot closer than the final margin suggested. Hampton then defeated Parkdale by 7 points in the prelim to set up the rematch in the grand final. 2 teams in great form. Old Carey have won their last 7. Their last loss, though, was to Rovers by 47 points in round 12. Ooh. Rovers have won 13 of their last 14. Their only loss since May 18, the Panthers in the second semi-final. So they've had each other's measure this year. It sets up a fantastic grand final. I can't wait to break it down now with Hampton Rovers coach Marty Pask. Marty, thanks for your time.
Thanks, guys. It's great to be on the show, and thanks for having me.
It's been quite a ride in Premier C this year, hasn't it? It's been a fantastic competition.
No, it has. Obviously, my first year back being in the VAFA competition, I've absolutely loved it. I mean, it's a well-run competition. Great teams, really well coached, good grounds we get access to, and yeah, look, Premier C was a really good standard of footy all year, and I guess we had a bit of a interesting year when many people would know that our ground's getting redeveloped and we're getting new facilities put in, so we've had to rely on our very good neighbours, the Sandringham Footy Club and the VFL, for Trevor Barker Oval for our home games this year, and it had to adapt. So we've had fantastic facilities there, which has been awesome as well. And I know opposition teams have really enjoyed having facilities such as that to play on. But look, the standard of competition's been fantastic, and our footy clubs really had a good year, and we can't wait for the weekend.
Talk to us about the weekend just gone before we look ahead to the weekend coming. You had a nice lead at quarter time, and then the Parkdale Vultures just started to chip away out at Marty, and you were able to hold on in the end by 7 points and put yourself not only into a grand final, but promotion to Premier B.
Yeah, look, first box obviously ticked. I mean, it's interesting with VAFA competition. I mean, the first thing always is obviously to avoid relegation. The next thing is try and qualify for finals. The next thing's then trying to get the double chance, and then the next one's promotion. And then the final one's the big dance, obviously. But the weekend, it was a classic local game of footy, and I think that's the real thing I enjoy about community football is the fact that it's really a contest. There's conditions that come into play, such as the wind. No doubt Elstonwick Park is known for one end of the ground always being quite windy. We got the benefit of it in the first quarter. Parkdale got the benefit of it in the second term. We really worked hard in that second term to get 2 goals into the breeze, which really set us up, I felt. And then a credit to Parkdale. I thought they played a really good third term, which really stifled us around the ball and stopped us trying to get out and put numbers around the ball and made it really difficult. We didn't take our chances in front of goal, which was a little bit disappointing and put a little bit of scoreboard pressure on us going into that last term. But I said to the group after the game that fourth term and just the way that they played was just so... I couldn't be any more prouder of them as a coach. I mean, that was just the will to win, and that breeze, going against it and then kicking 2 in, going against it in that last term was just fantastic. And I'm just so proud of the footy club. And as you guys will know, covering VAFA footy, there's so much more that goes into it than just the playing group. There's volunteers, there's people that have been around the club for many years, many generations, and for them to see them with smiles on their faces and seeing that their team's doing well and it's their team's turn to win a preliminary final and then go into a grand final. I mean, that's not lost on myself or any of the players. And, we're really excited for everybody. And it's nice to know that people are really proud of their footy club. And hopefully this week they can really enjoy the week.
What does the prep look like for grand final weekend, Marty?
You do. I mean, people say you got to treat it like any game, but they'd be lying to you. I think that you've got to enjoy it and you've got to celebrate it. And, obviously I grew up in the old school football era where, you didn't necessarily show too much emotion or enjoy yourself or laugh or, if you smiled, you got ahead of yourself. And if you were laughing and having a joke pre-game, you weren't ready. So I think that everybody now is just about enjoying and living in the moment. And I don't shy away from the fact that I think this should be more of a celebration. And I would suggest old Carey the same. I mean, everyone sacrifices so much to play amateur footy. And everybody, finishes work and goes to footy training, and it's wet and it's cold and it's the middle of July, and sometimes you get hail, sometimes you get fog, sometimes you get rain, sometimes you get mud, and you get all those challenges and different things come at different times. And for obviously these young men to experience this in their lifetime and work hard towards a goal and achieve something, I think that's fantastic. And I love that about footy. I love that about coaching. And I think you've just got to celebrate and you've got to embrace it. And you've got to know that this is, the ladder would suggest and form lines would suggest, as Jason just said on the intro, that these are 2 very good teams coming up against each other. And, one's going to win, one's going to lose.
How do you win? How do you win, Marty? Where do you win it?
Look, I think the good thing about Old Carey is I think they're a quick running side. They like to get open. They like to score out the back. They've obviously got some good players that have got some good wheels. So, look, we're going to be mindful of that, but also, too, we're going to promote our strengths and what we do well. So it's going to be certainly a day where I want the boys to bring our weapons and what we do well. And, hopefully we can take a little bit away from their game and promote a lot of what we do well.
Saturday, 2:40, Beach Oval. If you can't get to the game, it's going to be an absolute belter. You can see it live on vafa.com.au. Marty, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having us on. Thank you.
Great to spend some time with Marty Pask from the Hampton Rovers. Let's flip over to their opposition, the old Carey Panthers, one of my favourite teams in the competition. And their coach, Aaron Bailey, has been good enough to join us. Hello, Aaron.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having us.
Mate, congratulations on getting to the grand final. I know it's been a couple of weeks, so your head's probably stopped spinning. You've been promoted. Now you've got to tick the last box and go up to Premier B next year with a trophy. You confident?
Oh, look, we're excited to be there. And, look, certainly we've our last three games in terms of beating the other three sides in the top four gives us some real confidence that our best is good enough, but we play an opposition that we've been really evenly matched with. Hampton are a really good side, and all three games have been within a kick at three-quarter time, so we know we've got a really good opposition this week.
Aaron, what are the keys to your game? What are the keys to success that you're going to put on the whiteboard?
Oh, look, for us, certainly, I think we're the quickest team in Prem C. Our ability to run and our speed has been a strength, and our ability, I think, our pressure and the way we can put pressure on the opposition are probably the two areas that we've really used this year and utilised across the season.
What can you tell us about Hampton? You've got obviously had a couple of looks at them before. The 19-point victory in the semi-final. How do they like to play their footy?
Yeah, look, very good midfield. Guys like Christian Carnivale and Coughlin and Perkins, really experienced, big bodies, really tall, forward of the ball, well coached, really well structured, hard to break down. The number one defence in Prem C. So for us, it's around trying to break even around the ball and then go from there. But no, really good side. They across the 2 years I've been at Carey, we've had really close games every time. So, but their strength, they've got very good, experienced senior players, particularly around in their midfield. So, and bat really deep. Their 19s won the Division 1 grand final and their 2s made finals. So, they're really strong from player 1 to 22.
Composure, such an important thing in big games, Aaron, and it was only a 1-point game. It ended up being 19 points the last time you two played each other in the second semi, but it was a 1-point game in time on in the last quarter, and you guys had great composure and finished the game really strong. That must have been really pleasing for you, and again, it could be a factor this week, because as you say, these two teams are just so evenly matched.
Yeah, look, we got challenged. We were 28 up early in the third quarter and probably missed a couple of opportunities to get to sort of 35, 40 points up, dropped a couple of marks, and then Hampton, to their credit, made it a stoppage game and were able to get right back in it. And we actually I thought at three-quarter time we were pretty wobbly. We looked tired, but we were able to find a response. We've done it in the last three games. We got challenged by Parkdale and Ajax in both those games, and we're able to respond. And the two times we've beaten Hampton, we've actually kicked the last 3 goals in both games. So, for such a young team and such a young group, it's been really pleasing, their ability to handle these moments, because this isn't a position this group's been in or the club's been in for a long time. So our ability to respond's been really encouraging.
How's your preparation look like with the week off? Did you sort of get down to the game, sort of have a look at your opposition? How did you manage your playing group?
Yeah, look, we trained as per normal. We had a really light Tuesday, and then what would normally be our Tuesday session we did on Thursday. Had a really good session on Saturday. In terms of Sunday, that was optional for our players. So some players wanted to go, others didn't. I know I went away. I watched it. I went up to Yarrawonga and watched it online. But our view is just to try and be as normal as possible. We certainly wanted to have a really good session, make sure that we're getting in the work that we wanted to do. But yeah, certainly we made sure our players had a rest, because it was a physical game, the game we played, and then try and build up towards this week. But the focus for us is just to enjoy it, and to we realistically probably didn't expect to be here this early as a club and as a group. So we've just had a focus across the whole final series just to enjoy it, embrace it, and have fun with it. So, and that's been certainly that's been the focus for us.
One more from us. When people are tuning in on vafa.com.au, Saturday 2:40 at Beach Oval to watch the game, maybe they haven't seen a lot of the Panthers play this year. How do they know when the game's on your terms? What does it look like?
Oh, look, you'll certainly see us, I guess for us, you'll see us, how we move the ball, our ability to keep the ball in Hampton's end, and you'll see what we can do with the ball. It's an exciting group when they get going. Their ability to move the football, a lot of outside speed, and if we're moving and dynamic with our running, we're probably in a really good shape in the game.
I can't wait for this one. Old Carey taking on Hampton this weekend in the Premier C Grand Final. Aaron, good luck, all the best, and as I said, one of my favourite teams in the comp is Old Carey, so hopefully the Panthers can raise the trophy on the weekend. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome to speak with Aaron Bailey from Old Carey and Marty Pask. That was covering Premier C. Now, lads, we can't go through Premier C and wrap this up without you two. I've told you since the very first episode that no one will kick 100 goals in a season, and old mate Mitch Brown didn't do enough.
Now, I'll tell you why.
You got a reason.
Yeah, there's a reason why
I've been
Tunwatch
giving
fell
you a
short.
reason.
The reason was... there's a very strong wind at the game, and they played him in defence for 2 quarters.
Well, whose fault's that?
They played him at the same end.
You can't kick 100 goals from the back line.
Take that out of the equation, and he was right on line for 100.
See, I was vindicated in my call.
I'm going to take
vindictive's the word.
By the way, I love that he kicked 87 goals. Don't get me wrong, it's fantastic, but I told you he was never kicking 100.
Couple of quarters with the wind.
Look, I'm going to go full Brendan McCullum Bazball here, and the 87, that's a moral 100. All right, raise the bat, Mitch. It's the expected score stuff. Let's just call it 100.
Rubbish. That's rubbish. And who's putting a 100 goal kicker in the back line? That's just silly.
That's the old just stick him in the goal square and don't move for the quarters.
Forwards to backs, backs to forwards.
I love it.
Any wonder Parkdale aren't playing in the grand final. What's that? What sort of move's that from our man Owen Layla out there?
Congratulations on a great year.
That's what I said.
Everyone there, and to Mitch as well.
That's
Joey.
what I said. But as I told you, 13 goals short of 100. It's never happening. Not this year anyway. Maybe next year I'll reassess.
Righto.
Because I look at the long-range forecast and I trust Jane Bunn. 6:55 on every night, Monday to Friday. Now, can we do our tips before we're done?
Yes, let's do that.
Because this is very important. This is the part people actually listen to.
So let's start with Premier Men's preliminary final.
I was going to go C up to a crescendo, big
you
crescendo.
want to build the other way?
Let's crescendo.
I was going to go C grade.
All right, let's start with Premier C.
Old Carey.
Hampton Rovers.
Oh, you want to side with the Peacock, do you?
Is that his nickname still, or is there another one floating around that I keep hearing?
Well, if he keeps sending me fruity messages, we're going to change his surname. Fair dinkum. Keeps sending me a lot of fruit.
Premier B. Old Haileybury de la Salle.
Honestly, you can't possibly think that I'm going to tip anyone else but Old Haileybury. You can't possibly think that. They're going to come up as the 10th best side de la Salle here.
I think after D-Lar's performance, the heart wants to say De La Salle for me, but having watched what Old Haileybury have done to this competition over the course of the year, I'm not going to tip against the Bloods. I think they will be the premiers.
I hope it's a cracking game.
It will be.
In all seriousness, I think it's going to be a belter.
Premier Men's preliminary final to win through to play the Tunners.
I cannot wait for this. So this is on Saturday.
Saturday, 2:30, Elstonwick Park. SEN. KTV.
You go first, Patrick.
St Kevin's. I love everything about Old Scotch this year. I've been effusive in my praise of their work. I think this situation is where that finals experience that we've spoken about at length throughout this season and on every broadcast that we've been on, this is where we will see the Scobbers' spirit, if you will, and Anthony Plugger-Lynch demand a higher level from his players, and I think that they can get to that level. I think they will win this one, and I'll give you a margin to 9 points.
9 points. I've got the slightest of concern about playing the hard-fought slog on the weekend, and Scotch had not an easier game, but a game that was on their terms for a lot longer, and they were in control of it, and I think they're playing some really good footy, and I think they're going to draw a lot of confidence out of beating them in the home and away season, Jace, as opposed to 12 months ago, where they fell short in the home and away season, and then they fell short in the finals. I'm going to tip the Cardinals, and our grand final will be Old Brighton and Old Scotch. And Old Brighton have never won an A-grade grand final, and Old Scotch haven't tasted success since 1978.
Well, that would be a story. It's going to be a fantastic game.
I cannot wait for it.
Cannot wait for this one. It's
I'll
going to be
give
great.
you a margin too. 2 points.
Oh, lovely.
9 grand finals this weekend. For all the details, vafa.com.au. Best of luck to everyone playing. Obviously, the Premier Women's Grand Final as well. St Kevin's Old Scotch. Quick tip.
St Kevin's.
I'm going to wait till Inside the Boundary for that one. You've got to listen
Inside the
in.
Boundary coming up
Sarah
with our
Cameron will be the best player on the
special
ground.
guests, Sarah Cameron
Sarah joining
and
us?
Mia Caffrey to join us later in the week for Inside the Boundary.
When are we doing that? I'll make myself available.
You will. Contractually obligated. Under 19 Division 4 men's grand final as well. St Mary's St Legions, Caulfield Grammar. The Division 3 men's reserves and seniors grand finals. The reserves North Brunswick, Richmond Central. The seniors St John's versus Canterbury. Good luck to everyone playing in grand finals this weekend.
What we'll do is we'll come back next week and wrap up all the sections for the premiers and everyone who hasn't had the opportunity for us to unpack it just yet. But there's plenty going on. We'll do it again next week to finish up 2024. We'll see you next week.